Welcome, we are back with a brand new series of Zero to Hero. It's a new season, which means a ton of fresh new content, new raid, more delves, and even a whole new area. But let's be real, the only thing we care about is the dungeons. This season, we've got 7 returning dungeons, and a brand new one called Operation Floodgates. This will be my first time experiencing all of them. So, it's going to be interesting. We're kicking off this season playing Revengeance Demon Hunter. If you're a returning viewer, you already know DH is my main. And now that it's back on top, I want to start this season off feeling comfortable. But after this, you guys can pick any class for me to play. Hell, I was even thinking about trying DPS this season. I really want to know if it's easy as people say, but with my limited DPS experience, I'm sure I'll be humbled very quickly. Let's lay down some ground rules. This is a solo challenge. No hitting up my friends to bail me out with some heals. Just like Jason Derulo, I'll be riding it solo. No showing my Raider IO stats. For some reason, mine is still showing from the previous season. I tried to disable it, but it just won't go away. But let's be honest, a lot of people inflated their IO score on the last week of season 1. Naughty. No gold transfers. No sending myself a stack of cash from my alts. I already had a bunch of gold from the last season, so I'll just be sticking with this. Now that's all out the way, let's kick things off with the MOTHERLODE. A lot of you probably know this well, but there's also a handful of people like myself who have no clue what the hell is going on. But now I'm sitting here editing, can actually see what's happening, and I get why it's called the MOTHERLODE, because there's a MOTHERLODE of accidental pulls. Almost every pack had some mob inviting their friends over. Like, I get it, you see the disco dance floor and think it's a party, but it's not. Then there's the Peacekeeper, a mob who does not live up to his name. This guy wreaks havoc. He fires off a big green swirl that you have to dodge, and every single time, expect more mobs to roll right in. Oh, and the Met Jockeys. These guys like to try and wake up more Peacekeepers, so make sure to CC them and interrupt them. Otherwise, you'll have a big problem on your hands.
Oh god.
The first boss of the dungeon is the coin-operated Crowd Plummeter, aka Mr. Make It Rain. This gold-hungry machine was a fun fight, but I had no idea what was going on. I thought walking over the gold would give me a little bit of extra cash, but sadly, it doesn't. The mechanics were pretty simple. Don't let him suck up the gold, boot the football into his head, or the soccer ball. For my American viewers out there, like and subscribe. Dodge the frontal and DPS him down, and you're bing chillin'. This dungeon is full of AoEs and swirls. Every pack has something trying to kill you. I, of course, was still pulling big and hoping for the best. You know our motto around here, go big or go home.
Go big or go home, baby. That's what I've always said. Go big or go home. And we're going home.
We did in fact not go home. We survived that pull and moved on to the next. These mobs have another cast you need to interrupt. If not, it will put out big damage and make everyone super slow. So save all your CCs for these dudes.
It's a boss. What? Wait, I'm confused.
Turns out this was a boss. This was a 2, so honestly, we took the down. This was a 2, so honestly, we took the boss down pretty fast. But from what it seems, all this boss does is cast the frontal, slam the ground, dealing group-wide damage, and then spawn some ads. He also starts to suck one off at some point. It must have been good, because this ad came back harder than ever.
What did he say?
The route this dungeon was pull everything. And you see, I wasted no time getting into the action. Go big or go home. The next boss was another super simple boss. Get in the safe area, and after that, she will mark someone. So bait the swirls near the gooey stuff. Once that's over, aim your leaf blower at the stuff, and rinse and repeat. I can already tell this final boss is going to be a pain in the ass. My main problem are the miss-alley shoots at the ranged DPS, which can be annoying because sometimes it will sync up with the swirls that come down. You also need to react so fast. I can see this boss wiping many groups on higher keys. Once you're getting down to half HP, it becomes immune and 2 ads will spawn. If you don't kill these quick, they will just gun everyone down. But But while all that is going on, the boss will use Drill Smash on a random player, and you will need to bait this into one of the posts. After smashing all 3 posts, the boss will just repeat the same moves he did in phase 1.
Pumping, boys.
Our first dungeon down, and we got no loot. The same group wanted to do a forfeiter of pain, so let's dive right into that. So I've just been using Yoda TV's Mythic dungeon tools, mainly because I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. Routes at this point in the season is always a bit shaky. In a few weeks there will be more routes, but for now we're just going to stick to the main man himself, Yoda TV's routes. The first boss fight was hectic as hell. Each mini boss had different abilities, but overall the strat was pretty simple. Dodge frontals, avoid the swirls, and pop defensives, and hope you don't die. The Mythic dungeon tool was also a pain in the ass to navigate, and every corridor had a goddamn mini boss in it. But hey, they were actually pretty fun. One of them throws a rotating sword, which, by the way, I didn't even notice until they were slicing me up for a good 3 seconds straight.
Am I studying something?
The second boss was Zav. This man doesn't let up with his mechanics. He's throwing out back-to-back frontals, smashing up half the arena, and when he's not doing that, he's throwing people into a Marghara. Like, bro, I need them. They're my DPS. But at least when they come back, the winner gets a damage buff.
Oh, you just brute?
But the loser, on the other hand, gets hit with a fat debuff. So DPS, this is your chance to show off your skills. I was feeling confident after that boss and decided to go big. But these fuckers just kept hopping away. Gorechop was the next boss on the list, aka the chain guy. I really like the chains that come down. They're not too fast, so they're easy to dodge, but it adds a lot of variety to the fight. I sometimes don't enjoy bosses where all I'm doing is standing in one spot the whole duration of the fight. He also spawns ads, but I mean, what boss doesn't spawn ads? They don't do much, just be careful because when they die, they leave a nasty pool on the floor. The chain always seems to come from one direction, so sticking to around the middle of the room seems to be the best option.
Oh, probably should not have pulled this whole room.
I messed up big time pulling these extra mobs. Turns out we didn't need him because we was already at max percent. This paladin kind of threw me off, giving me false information, or I just didn't understand what the hell he was talking about. Because the paladin told me not to move, I took it literal and didn't move whatsoever. And it turns out the frontal doesn't even aim at me, so I have no idea what the hell he was talking about. Also, some grabby hands came out and touched me up without any consent.
Oh shit.
Phase 2 starts, you got hands coming out the ground, a bunch of ghosts on horses charging at you, and the next minute you're being pulled in, ads are spawning, and on top of that there's a goddamn tank buster that knocks you out cold.
Save me.
So yeah, we wiped.
Damn.
On the next run, I somewhat figured out the boss. I was moving freely and figured out if we stack pretty close, I can use my chains to easily group up the ads. We managed not to die and finished the dungeon off. We failed the key, but we did get a ring. We ran some more 2s just to get used to our class, but the dungeons were pretty boring. We did, however, fail the fuck out of Operation Floodgates. This one boss was insane. Our healer dropped early on in the fight, so we wiped, but we had lost for the second try, and right away our healer and DPS got into a tug-of-war match. I found that the best way to do this fight is to all move left. But because none of us knew that, I was just following the person I was attached to. But you can tell my partner has never played Frogger before because he was getting hit by every single goddamn wave.
This guy is horrible pathing, like, look at him. Jesus, the man got hit by like every single one.
The final boss was amazing, but I was confused as hell by them sparks. I thought I had to pick it up, but turns out you just gotta pop it into one of the puddles. Gigazap was also messing up my DPS, so we ended up wiping.
What the fuck?
But we figured out what to do on the very next run. When the spark spawns, you need to bait it into an unelectrified puddle. That was the only mechanic I had problems with, so we finished off this dungeon. We failed it, but we did get a wrist upgrade. We didn't slow down and jumped straight in to a 4 Cinderbrew. Threat was a bit of an issue on these starter pulls. Now that I'm using a new talent build, I don't have enough abilities to generate threat. I ended up figuring out a better way to handle this pack, but we'll get to that in another video. The first boss is going to be a pug killer. Once he starts phase 2, everyone just blows the hell up. I have figured out a path for us to drop 2 bear bottles off, which helps our team out a lot. We ended up understanding the boss by the third phase, so we took it down on our first try. The packs leading up to the next boss are not too much of an issue. There is a few crucial interrupts you need to kick, such as Bestial Wrath and Honey Volley. I already know these abilities are going to be some big bug killers down the line. The B boss is mostly a control fight. Be sure to bait the swirls at the edge of the room when playing tank, and I think as a DPS, all you need to do is jump on the B and destroy the barrels. If you don't destroy the barrels, on the next set of ads, they would just double. But overall, I thought this boss fight was very easy. The next area, however, is intense as hell. I didn't think going into it would be much of a problem, but man, there's so much stuff you need to interrupt and dodge. These big boys also drop little bits of honey that I need to gain threat on, so this whole pull was a goddamn shit show. We did end up wiping, and I took it a little bit slower. I lied. I didn't take it slower. I went into that boss room and thought, fuck it, let's limit test, and pulled the entire thing. And it was going fine until my teammate aimed the mob across the room and he went storming in to a giant pack. I'll just let the rest play out from here.
Totem. 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 Charge. Totem. Totem. Charge.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Ah, shit. Here we go again.
Charge. Totem. Charge.
Yeah, that was mayhem. But like we say, go big or go home. The boss fight is pretty easy, just make sure the honey slimes don't reach the boss and you're pretty much golden. There's also a dot that the boss throws on people, so make sure to pop a defensive and pray your healer can bail you out. We finished off this dungeon with 6 minutes to spare and got ourselves a back upgrade.
Yes. Oh my god, that's a big upgrade.
Dark Flame Cleft. The amount of random pulls that happen in the early packs was seriously giving me a brain aneurysm. This big fucker just kept knocking away my grouped up packs. It didn't help that once one of the mobs gets super low HP, he does a pirate software and runs away like a little bitch, which causes even more chaos. Did I mention I used to work at Blizzard? Ow, 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 ow.
Ale.
Only the
Ale.
strong.
For now though, the bosses seem pretty chill. It was only a 4, so a lot of the mechanics don't really hurt all that much. I can see this candle looking dude might be a little bit annoying, but it seemed my group understood what to do, so I let them do all the heavy lifting. This boss again felt more like a control fight. As long as you destroy the statues, nothing bad will happen. I know for sure though that you can clear multiple statues once you get this ring around you, so make sure when you create the wax figures to stand pretty close together. Now, let's get to the bit that you've all been waiting for. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on, one more. Oh! Almost. Trust me, I will win the next time. That was just a warm-up session. The final boss was a little bit intense. I didn't have a clue what the hell was going on. My teammate just kept grabbing the light and running off. I just let him do his thing while I slowly DPS down the boss.
He just keeps running away. That guy was crazy, man. I kept running away with a goddamn bloody torch.
We timed the key though and got a nice trinket. And this is what we're looking like. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this season so far. Are you enjoying it? Are you hating it? Let me know. Also, if there's any tips that you can share, that would be great. And as always, if you like the content, subscribe. If you made it this far, we already know you like the content, so subscribe anyway. Like, comment, all of that good stuff. Thanks for watching. Bye bye. Welcome, welcome. We are back with another episode of Zero to Hero. At this point, it's safe to say I'm addicted to this season. My bad for making you wait for so long for the next episode, but I've just been having such a blast playing Demon Hunter. If you're a subscriber, you've probably noticed I've been posting some high level keys. And if you're a loyal Zero to Hero enjoyer, well, that's just straight up spoilers for you. I did not expect to be pushing high keys this early on in the season, but then I saw Yoda TV flexing his 10 keys, and you already know I had to whip out mine.
What do you mean by that?
Pause. Although, they've all moved on to 14s now, while I'm still barely failing 12s.
Hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass on.
Now, I know showing you lower keys might feel like a disservice, but they're still pretty entertaining and it's fun to show you how much I've progressed. So let's kick off this episode with the latest dungeon of the season, Operation Floodgates. I know you all love big pulls, so the first one is always the best. Everyone's got cooldowns and everyone's ready to pump, and it's just pure chaos. Later keys though, this pull becomes an absolute nightmare. Let me introduce you to the Shreddinators, a name that was probably generated from an Xbox 360 gamer tag. This guy is the biggest pug killer. He loves to spawn these death blades at your feet, and if you don't move, you're gone. To make matters even worse, if you pull these loader bots, they just straight up turn into Beyblades. I've tried my best to avoid them in more recent dungeons, but they still manage to get pulled every single time. The first boss in this place is Big Mama. Even if the Straw Hats came to your aid, you'd still struggle on this boss. To be fair, this fight isn't even about hitting the boss, it's about killing the ads before Big Mama uses her death button. The good thing is though, you can bait the ads into the walls. Do people do that though? No. So instead, you're slowly having to kill each ad and hope you can kill them before Big Mama kills you. And thankfully, we did. Remember what I said about them Shreddinators? Well, there's 2 of them now. I'm so sorry, healers. It wouldn't be a dungeon if there wasn't a duo boss. This one was a bit of a pain in the first week. It's not so bad now everyone knows what they're doing, but man, it was a shit show from start to finish. The mechanics are pretty simple. Dodge beam, dodge swirls. If you get swirl, go on bomb and pray you don't die. Charge dum dum into bomb bomb. And of course, like every duo boss, kill them at the same time. Believe me, your healer and tank will thank you for it. Or just die, that works too. Swamp Face requires a lot of communication beforehand, but because this was only like day 1, nobody had a clue, so instead it was just a goddamn free-for-all. But with the use of pings, we managed to take down the boss with no more casualties. Now it's time for the real boss of the dungeon, Bubbles. Who would have thought a goddamn fish would be able to wipe a whole group? People are actively avoiding this dude in higher keys, and I don't blame them. That backwash ability is absolutely broken. We finish up the dungeon with 3 minutes to spare, and we got no loot. I was trying out all the dungeons, so up next is Mechagon Workshop. Now, how do I put this nicely? I fucking hate this dungeon. The first few attempts at this dungeon was hands down the worst experience I've ever had. This starter pull, I could never group up nicely because people would just aggro and people just don't kick. I mean, I know it's a pug, but man, it's one button you need to press every 15 seconds. Thankfully, they don't one-bomb you at these key level, but you will see all the pain and suffering I go through in later keys. But for now, let's get these lower keys out the way first. This boss fight really does take me back. I don't know if any of you non-UK viewers know about Robot Wars, but this fight is exactly like that. I would have loved it if they had a mechanic where you could get into a machine and like flip over one of the bosses or something. Like that would be so much fun. But still, these hammers are kind of cool, I guess. It was a 5, so I was kind of limit testing. But riddle me this. Why did we survive a massive pull, but then 9 of these techno puppies shred us to bits? I guess these dogs really do have that dog in them, but not enough to take me down. The Daddy Dog boss is kind of boring. The mechanics are pretty simple. He leaps, does damage, you get a dart on you, your healer dispels. But the whole get behind a cube is so boring. There's a secret tech where you can still hit the boss and still be in line of sight. I've not figured it out yet, so if someone can give me tips, leave them down below. Oh, Oh, fuck off. Bro, this is fucking boring. So boring. Yeah, I hate that bit. I didn't even realize that this was a boss at first, but I guess it is. He really doesn't do much. Just watch out for the spinning cogs and swirls and you're pretty much good. Oh, and kill the ad. One thing I did want to bring up is these generators. These are actually a safe zone for people during the short out mechanic. And I'm pretty sure if you're inside them, the explosion from the squirrel can't hit you either. Another dungeon down and once again, no loot. Look, don't you dare reset. Look at that. I felt like I was kicking constantly, man. These guys, this doesn't even count my CC, by the way. This doesn't even count the chains, the Sigil of Misery, my stun. I think it may count my silence, maybe. I don't know. But, God, that was infuriating. Yeah, I was a little tilted towers, but hey, here's a big pull. Wait, how far did they go? There was no tame pulls in this dungeon. I don't know what route Yoda TV gave me, but small pulls like this turn into this in a matter of seconds. The good thing is though, the timer in this dungeon is very generous, so big pulls like this are not too bad, but I'm sure the healer has something to say about that.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently.
One boss I have been struggling with in this dungeon is this goddamn giant rock. I know all we gotta do is focus the Empower one, but I just didn't know if I had to keep moving the boss, so I just slightly posted up and hoped we would kill it before the boss killed us. And well... Luckily though, we survived, so we managed to take it down. Ooh! Now for the best part of the dungeon.
Run, Forrest, run!
You already know Blizzard stole this idea straight out of Mario. Yeah, this dungeon didn't go too well. We just died time and time again. We finally figured out how to do the boss, but that was a painful 40 minutes of my life that I will never get back. The good thing about hitting rock bottom though, is there's nowhere else to go but up. Did I just quote sing? Yes. Yes I did. We timed our next dungeon with just 14 seconds to go. Did I do some insane pulls and get raged at by my healer? Absolutely. Oh. Come on, bruh. In my defense, I didn't pull that extra pack. 3 paladins are doable, but 5? That's just crazy. The real problem with this pack are these damn paladins. They cast Sacred Toll every 5 seconds, and that thing hits like a truck. And on top of that, the other mobs either spam firebolts or slap you in the face with their shiny swords. If you've played Priory or Puri, however you want to say it, you know this dungeon is hell. Every mob is ridiculously hard. And once you finally reach the end, there's a mini boss that just kills you with his aura alone. We ended up getting a ring from this dungeon, but it wasn't even an upgrade. I knew in my heart I could push further, but with such a low eye level, we weren't getting invited. So I turned to one place where I know I could gear up fast, and that is Delves. Tier 8 Delves are the best way to loot up quickly, and luckily for us, we got a Delve bounty on our very first one, which means a guaranteed hero track piece. Now, I'm not going to show you the Delves because, let's be honest, they're brain dead easy for a tank. They take like 10 minutes, so instead, I'm just going to tell you what I got. Straight away, we sadly got an upgraded trinket, so that means I had to say goodbye to the Arakara Sack Brood. And from our Delve bounty, we got some hero track legs. We did some more Delves and got a head, more legs, and another trinket. We used the crest that we got from the Delves to upgrade our gear, and we went from looking like this to this. We also killed the world boss, who dropped us a necklace.
Nice.
With our new and improved gear, we jumped straight into a 6 Theatre of Pain. Not sure if my healer would just cracked or if these upgrades made me immortal, but we only had one death in the whole entire dungeon. And that was when my healer randomly decided to become a tank. Even scary pulls like this didn't even feel too bad. But I do not recommend this pull to anyone. Zav went down with no issues. This pull was a little bit better this time. I think if the range stay close, it's not so bad because these fuckers don't jump around so much. Nothing really happened in this dungeon. Like I said, there was only one death, so we finished it with 8 minutes to spare. But believe me when I say, we have some rough Theatre of Pains in the future, so stay tuned for that. We didn't slow down and jumped straight into a 6 workshop. The first pull was still messy as hell. I don't know why, but people can't help but trigger this first pack, so it's next to impossible to group them all up nicely. A few mobs ended up getting a bit loose. I went on a killing spree and took down our DPS. The first boss was really smooth, apart from the fact that my team kept walking into me. Are they meant to do this or something, or are they just straight up trolling me? Why would he walk into me? Even though it was a 6, I was still pulling like a madman. But don't worry, I wasn't crazy enough to pull all the dogs again. But surely pulling 4 with the boss isn't stupid, right?
Go crazy. Go stupid.
Nah, surprisingly, it went well. Our team were pumping, and I'm a VDH god. No way. Oh fuck. I hate this goddamn fucking shitty ass goddamn. Oh, I hate this dungeon so much. The most calm person in Manchester. Ugh, goddamn it, I should have just jumped. Even though you are basically immortal when these generators are up, once they go down, you go back to being your original self. A bald, worthless piece of I'm sorry, I don't know what came over me there. Let's get back to the dungeon. Things were going smooth. It did get a little bit hairy during the third boss, but we just threw back our trusty Argory healing pot and popped demon spikes, and we were bing chilling. These next mobs are straight killers, so it's best to stagger the pull. Trust me, they can chain kill your entire team off spawn if you're not careful. We finished the dungeon with 8 minutes to spare. Once again, people was kicking and the damage was nice, so it was the easiest dungeon I've done this season. The same people wanted to do more keys, so we jumped into an 8 Cinderbrew. An 8 already? I know, but hey, sometimes you gotta throw yourself in the deep end and hope you don't drown. Cinderbrew has been a rough dungeon for people this season, and I get it, the packs are hard, but it mostly comes down to the lack of dungeon knowledge, so let me give you a few tips to help you time this key. If you're a healer, you basically never want to do this intermission mechanic. As a VDH, you can easily get 2 beers before your team even delivers the next 3. For the boss itself, just try and not clog up the room with the honey, and don't get hit with the swallows like I did. As for tank busters, there's one, but it doesn't really hit that hard. Just pop a defensive and make sure you drop the honey in a good place. And that also goes for you DPS and healer. Place your pools in good places and avoid the frontal. Packs leading up to the B boss can be rough, but as long as you interrupt these 2 abilities, you'll be fine. Watch out for this big ability that the hyena does though, but the most silent and deadly ability in this pack is the Final Sting. Once the bees reach 20% health, they will use Final Sting. Make sure to CC them when they are low, and pray you kill them before they wipe your entire team. As for the boss, I mean, it's really easy. Tank, move the swallows into the corner and get aggro on the ads. And DPS, kill the ads and fly them into the barrels. The only AoE ability this boss does is Fluttering Wings. It hits pretty hard, so pop a defensive. The next area leading up to the IPA boss has some harder mobs in my opinion. Mostly because they're non-stop casting these abilities. During these packs, you basically want to be kicking and CCing them all the time. Make sure to not overpull, and for the love of God, kill the barrels. The spell drink ability is a must CC. If they get this off, their free sample ability will most likely one-shot people in higher keys. As for the goblins, aim them into a close wall and make sure you gain threat on the drops, and you're pretty much good. The IPA boss is easy. Just use your chains to group up the ads and try your best to make sure they don't reach the boss, and you're pretty much chilling. There's also a dot you need to worry about, but who cares about all that stuff? Just pump your heart out and leave that loser stuff to the healer. Again, I'm so sorry healers. As for the final boss, ideally you just want the tank to destroy all the big barrels. This is because every big barrel you destroy, it leaves a nasty dot. So if you leave it to the tank, there's enough time in between each mechanic for the dot to fade away. We timed the 8 Cinderbrew with just a minute left on the clock, and we got a huge shoulder upgrade. Ooh! I was confident, so we jumped straight into a 7 Motherlode, where I got absolutely humbled. I don't know why, but this boss just got giga strong, super fast, and it fucked everyone up. I ended up getting the blame and was left confused as hell. I'm pretty sure though, we just didn't focus the ad in time, so the smash just knocked us all out. My feelings were hurt after that key, so we took a break. There's still a long way to go before we hit Keystone Hero, but so far the dungeons have been great, and I'm loving it. This is what we're looking like, and if you enjoy the content, hit the subscribe button. If you made it this far, we already know you like the content, so subscribe anyway. Like, comment, all of that good stuff. Thanks for watching. Bye bye. Welcome, we are back with another episode of Zero to Hero. Last time we pushed hard and even managed to complete an 8 Cinderbrew. Despite our eye level, we're still pushing hard. Today's goal is to push even further and hit Keystone Master, aka 2000 IO rating. This will give us a catalyst charge letting us craft an early 2 set piece. Let's waste no time and dive right into our first dungeon of the day, a 6 Motherlode. I just finished a Motherlode and I wasn't recording and I didn't realise. But yeah, so the route I was doing before was Yoda's, but this skip at the start was almost impossible because every single time somebody pulled the assassins. So instead we went with route 2 weekly. Where is it? There it is. Boom. Went with this route instead, where we cleared the first pack and then the second, and then out the gate we go to the right. Yeah, so I've been doing this a few times now. For the record, both of the routes are shocking. I do not recommend either of them. Let's actually kick today's episode off with a 7th Theatre of Pain. The dungeon was going really well. We reached the final boss with 8 minutes left. There's no way we can mess it up, right? Alright, let me explain. First wipe, we got overwhelmed. The affix came in, we started getting sucked off, ads spawned on our heads, and the next minute, everyone was dropping like flies. Second wipe, a bunch of cows wrecked us. Third wipe, we got sucked in again. Yikes, that's a bad spawn point. The fourth wipe was on me. The overlaps were just insane. I went from 100 to 0 in a matter of seconds. It just does so much damage. On the 5th try, we succeeded. I finally understood the boss pattern. Reaping Scythe sometimes overlaps with other abilities, so I made sure to pop a major defensive just before it went off. And just like that, we finished off the dungeon. Sadly, we failed the dungeon, but I learned a lot from this experience. After that, I ended up running a 2 rookery, just to learn the dungeon. It was a 2, and I was way too overleveled, so we finished this with 10 minutes to spare. But now we got some experience, let's try our luck in a 6. Go big or go home, baby. Alright, we need to work on that pull. The first boss in Rookery is so easy. I don't even know how people can even die to this boss, but somehow 2 of my teammates managed to lose their lives. Because the boss was around 50% health, I decided to play it out, and it was going smooth until we lost our mage and then our chamois right after. So I was left in another solo situation. A fight that should have lasted only 2 minutes ended up lasting over 4. Our teammates locked in right after that fiesta. I was a little bit worried going into the double diffusers, but we made light work of these beefy boys. The second boss is also an easy boss. With the debuff, your tank can easily tank 2 charges of it, so don't be afraid to give it in more than once. But tanks, if you do take 2 stacks, make sure to pop one of your major defensives, otherwise you will 100% fall over. I always love this next pull. I feel like Batman gliding in like a majestic beast. To be fair, I kind of overpulled here. All these routes are just being tested. We will be more efficient once we get to higher keys. These void stones hit like a truck in higher keys. If you didn't know, they have an ability called void extraction. So avoid pulling too many civilians, because if these get too many stacks, Unleashed Darkness will do massive AoE damage to the group. Thankfully, our group were gamers, so we didn't have too much of an issue. We finished the key with 6 minutes to spare, but we missed the 2 chests by just a few seconds. You love spicy pulls, right? Well, here's a very questionable one on a 6 priory. This dungeon is hated by the community right now. Personally, I don't mind it. I'd rather play this over City of Threads. Most people fear this dungeon because they make questionable pulls like this one. At the time, I didn't know these sharpshooters were such a pain in the ass. If the group isn't stacked, it's almost impossible to group them up nicely. These guys spam shoot and pot shot non-stop. In high keys, if one player gets targeted by more than 2 of them, they're dead. Overall, the bosses weren't too bad. Just don't be like my DPS and get it collateraled. I said in my last video, these paladins hit harder than my stepfather.
What did he say?
But I trusted my group, they were pumping hard, so I said screw it, let's turn this into a party. We made light work of Baron, but I will definitely get back to him in another episode. 6s were starting to feel easier. This was filmed during the first week of the season, so I feel like the people pushing these keys had really good gaming chairs. We were making light work of pretty much everything. We cleaned up the dungeon with 7 minutes to spare and got our best in slot trinket. I wanted to clear all the 6s, so up next is Dark Flame Cleft. The first pull is a little bit spicy, but once I master it, it's going to be clean as hell. If you line of sight behind this wall, all the casters will come flooding in. The only annoying thing is though, this Overseer, once you finally group everyone up, this big baby would just throw a tantrum and knock everyone away. I used Sigil of Chains too early, Ideally, you want a druid with vortex, that way when the overseers try and knock them away, they just get sucked right back in. Again, I don't know what's wrong with this season, but almost every boss is easy. There's nothing really to worry about as long as people use their CCs, and for the love of God, kill that Kart. Seriously, kill it. You can line of sight again on these flame tenders, just make sure to use hard CCs to stop all their casts. Don't waste your Sigil of Silence here. You'll need it for the next pack. Just look how beautiful Sigil of Silence would have been right here to stop all these casts. Thankfully, this was only a 6, so gripping them all in with chains and using one of our hard CC abilities allowed us to deal with all the casters in one fell swoop. Right, I take what I said back. This boss is actually pretty tough. I try my best to explain it because I know this boss is messing up a lot of pug groups. Ideally, you'd want to destroy the isolated wax figure with the pickaxe thrown at you. Then, destroy the remaining ones with the swirls. Immediately after, group up with your tank. This is because the Eerie Mold is the ability that creates your statue, so if you're all stacked together, you can easily manage the statues. Just don't mess up the pickaxe like I did. As you can see, there's still a statue alive, and it's pulsating an AoE fire on the group, so if you leave multiple alive, well, you're just gonna get overwhelmed and die. The rest of the dungeon was a breeze, so we easily 2-chested it. We also got a back upgrade. We just have one more dungeon left to time on a 6, and that is the dreaded Floodgates. To be fair, this wasn't actually that bad this time around. Sometimes, just taking your time and pulling what the group can handle surprisingly makes the dungeon easier. Who would have thought? There is some new tech that I learned on VDH where you use the hunt on a far range mob and then spam Infernal Strike to cancel the dash. So if you ever want to pull in mobs that are too far away, you can do this instead. This next pack is pretty annoying because of the Demolitioner. It will cast RPG, which makes a bunch of swirls come down on you. You can interrupt the reload with any hard CC, so make sure after the cast you perma CC him, otherwise this pack will be a hassle to take down. The first boss in Floodgates went pretty smooth. I kept him closer to the wall this time so my teammates can bait the dash. If done right, your DPS can have some serious uptime on the ads. This can be a long fight, so doing this can be a serious time saver in later keys. The pack after the boss is deadly, but the worst thing is, there's the exact same pack right after, and to rub more salt into the wound, they decided to throw in a Demolisher too. My group was good, so these packs weren't as deadly as I'm making them out to be, but believe me, these guys normally hurt. At this point in the dungeon, I knew my group was good and felt confident, so I kept on pulling big. You get to the point in dungeons where you just know you're killing packs super fast, so you can pull based around that. Just don't go too insane and start pulling the entire dungeon. Honestly, there's not really much to say about this dungeon. It was super easy and we ended up 2-chesting it, with 10 seconds remaining. We got no loot, but we are just one dungeon away from Keystone Master, so let's lock in and time this 8 rookery. My power just blew up. That's always fun. Come on. Come on. Hurry up.
The next day.
Come on, man. Holy shit, this is the longest loading screen ever. Yeah, that was the longest of loading screens. We lost 4 whole minutes, so we had to lock in immediately. But not fully knowing the dungeon yet, I accidentally pulled these 3 mobs with the boss. And of course, that led to a wipe. To make up for it and save time, I said screw it, and pulled the boss with these mobs. We managed to make it work, but this is a stupid idea. These 3 mobs non-stop spam Thunderbolt, so pulling them with another pack can lead to a wipe, so pulling them with the boss was a stupid idea. Like I said though, we made it work, so we finished the boss with no deaths. We had 16 minutes going into the double diffusers. If we make no mistakes, we can easily time this key, and that is exactly what we did. We played the second boss perfectly. These guys must have grew up watching the Chuckle Brothers, because they had the perfect idea of passing the debuff twice, so this fight went insanely smooth. I wasn't wasting any time and was still doing my stupid Batman pull, and it almost got out of control. I was full of dumb pulls this dungeon. Pulling these 2 ascendants was one of them. In my head, I just assumed someone would interrupt the cast and we would group them all up nicely, but instead, it led to this fiesta. 7 minutes going into the final boss and it was looking timeable until my dumb ass got knocked off the map, so I had to do the swim of shame. This last boss is super easy for the tank. Honestly, just using your main big defensives such as Fiery Brand, Fell Devastation and Meta on the tank buster abilities make it so you are basically immortal. If you time it really well, you can have Brand up for all 3 of the mechanics. Once we knocked the boss down into its damage phase, we got to pumping. And pumped we did. Just in our first rotation, we got the boss down to 60% health, so it only took us a few more rotations to finally kill it. Even with the disconnect and the wipe on the first boss, we still easily timed this key, so there's no excuses as to why you can't time your keys. We achieved our goal of hitting Keystone Master, receiving our mount and our Catalyst charge. Sadly, we got no loot, but the same group wanted to do a 9. I felt bad for disconnecting and I just knew I had to make up for them. But before we jumped right into that, we crafted our 2 set piece. Now we're looking like this going into a 9 Cinderbrew. I've been working on my opener, so enjoy. My pulls were nothing short of insane in this dungeon. For some reason, I had the bright idea of pulling Chewy with this pack. At this point in time, Chewy made every mob around him immune to CC. In other words, it was him. Luckily, I didn't make the mistake of pulling him in too early. By the time he reached us and did his main AoE ability Tenderize, all the scary mobs were dead. The first boss in Cinderbrew is a bit of a pain. The good thing is though, you can easily deliver the brews to the thirsty customers, so this will help relieve the AoE damage that's going out on the group. His main tank buster is Keg Smash. It doesn't do insane damage, just try and bait the swells that he drops in a good place, avoid the frontal, and most of all, don't die. Unfortunately, we got a nasty overlap going into the next intermission. Our druid got the throwing Cinderbrew dot on him, and because we had a monk healer, it was a bit of a pain to heal both targets, so our druid eventually died. I talked about this dungeon in my last video, but I pretty much pulled the same packs. The only difference here is that I didn't listen to my own advice, and had the bright idea of staying in the circle, so I got stunned and almost died. Having a druid in your group this season is amazing. Beam is such a useful ability. Combining it with Sigil of Chains makes it so you can pump down packs for almost 8 seconds without the worry of kicking stuff. But this is a pug. People don't kick anyway, so the only difference is that your healer doesn't need to worry about healing your dumbass for a whole 8 seconds, but after that, it's back to nothing but pure panic for your healer. Pulling this pack into the room makes it so you have enough space to clear the boss room without the worry of accidentally chain pulling the entire room. As for the IPA boss, honestly, I have no clue how to play this boss. Just kill the ads and kite the boss around the room. Just make sure the ads don't reach him and you're pretty much golden. The final pack before the BEO herself are easy. Just mark one with a skull and focus it down.
Now you're dealing with the VEO herself.
This fight can get crazy real fast. In a perfect world, your tank can do all the mechanics, and all you DPS need to do is focus on hitting the boss. And if you're ranged DPS, just destroy the baby barrels. And healers, well, just heal, right? During the AoE damage phase, just drop down a group defensive like Darkness or AMZ. Everyone will thank you for it. Well, that's if they stand in it anyway. I scream it in chat and people still actively avoid it. We timed our first 9 with no issues. The only issue I'm having is getting loot. We barely got any eye level today, but we did create a 2 set piece. If you like the content, subscribe. If you made it this far, we already know you like the content, so subscribe anyway. Like, comment, all of that good stuff. Thanks for watching. Bye bye. Welcome, we are back with another episode of Zero to Hero, Tank Edition. In the last episode, we reached 2000 IO rating, securing us another Catalyst charge. This means we crafted an early 2 set piece, and this will hopefully help us in these higher keys. Let's kick today's episode off with a very questionable 9 workshop. This key exploded on the very first boss. You see what I did there? I don't know what it is with DPS, but they just love trying to make you take extra damage. This dude completely threw me off. So the tank buster came in, and I did a long blink, and bam, I was dead. The second pull went a lot better, and then... my Demon Hunter did a straight 5-star frog splash on that bomb. Do these bombs have a magnet attached to them or something? It's not like it mattered anyway, we still killed the first boss. To make up for the time, I decided to pull 3 dogs with the boss. We had Lust, so surely this won't be a bad idea, right? Well, for some reason, my mage remembered he had free will and could do whatever the fuck he wanted. So like a true fire mage, he embraced the flame. I also just wasn't getting dispelled, so I was just straight up scorched to death. I took so much damage, and then when I opened my recap, my game crashed. I opened recap and my game crashed. Would you believe me if I actually said we timed this key? Well, you'd be an absolute fool. We failed it big time. But we did get a trinket.
Nice.
Sometimes you fail, but you just gotta get right back up and keep pushing. I've been trying to work on my rookery pull, so enjoy. We did a terrible job of passing the debuff around. It got to the point where I had no clue who had it and was just hoping someone would run over to me. I'm not gonna lie, I thought you had to walk through your teammate in order to collect the debuff, but it turns out it just jumps to the closest person. So I just straight up took out my mage. Having one less person makes it easier anyway. Ah, what the hell, why don't we lose the warrior too? You see, much better. Our healer did such a good job at keeping us alive through this. This whole fight was kind of a mess, and the majority of our deaths just came from this, but it didn't stop us from still timing the key. Speaking of messes, next up is MOTHERLODE, the worst dungeon this season. These peacekeepers on their own slap hard, but for some reason I had the bright idea of pulling 2 of them with the assassin and Thug. We're a tank, so of course we lived. But my mage was having a rough one. I'm really surprised I wasn't getting flamed for these pulls. I know if I was a healer, I would be in this guy's DMs flaming the shit out of him. But we still managed to time the key, so maybe I was onto something. Please don't try these pulls at home. Alright, enough of these 9s. If we're gonna get Keystone Hero, we need to start pushing harder. Even in 11s, you still find donuts. Just like this mage. Instead of walking a few inches forward, they decided, nah. I want stones thrown at my head. It must have given him some serious brain damage because he just wasn't learning, and my healer was getting pissed off. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but giant rocks from the ceiling won't hurt me. We got him back up and carried on. In reality, we should have probably just stuck to the boss, but with the boss at 10% and the cart with 12 seconds left, it wasn't looking good. Panic set in, and our pally got run over, and the whole dungeon went up in flames.
Oh, fuck's sake. Jesus Christ.
Sometimes people make mistakes. Hey, even I do stupid things. Let's not even talk about the pull I just did in this 11 Cinderbrew. Pulling Chewy with these packs was just straight up death.
Oh shit, I don't know pull like this actually, it's very silly.
But we learn and pull smaller.
What? Oh my god, I didn't press. I'm an idiot.
Let's try that again. We pulled Chewy solo this time, and it actually worked. The next pull, however, took a little longer than I expected. God knows how I lived for that long. Doing these 11s this early on in the season was rough. Everyone was around 645 eye level, so packs were taking years to kill. Also, not fully understanding the dungeons yet made some fights super tough. Like on the bee boss. Me not knowing I have to save Sigil to get threat on the bees almost cost us the dungeon.
Oh my... Oh! Kill it. Kill it, please, 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 please. Oh! Oh my god! How did that guy die at the end?
But what really cost us the dungeon was just the lack of damage. Yeah, I could survive the packs, but we're on a timer. If you don't kill the packs in time, you're gonna explode. We ran back the same dungeon with the same group, but this time it was on a 10. And with 8 minutes left on the IPA boss, it was looking good, until our warrior went for a swim in the pool.
Oh, how the hell did he just die?
We had some cool moments where I drifted the boss around the slimes.
No. Oh, skirt! No. No, 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 kill it, stun it, something.
But we just couldn't hold out long enough to kill the boss, so we eventually wiped. Everyone was tilted towers, so the key was over. Surely our next one would go better. After having 11 deaths on the first boss, it wasn't looking good. If you're wondering how we got them deaths, well, now that is a classic. Wiping on this first pack happened 70% of the time. The only problem was we carried on.
I'm not too sure what happened in that first pack. I guess people just didn't kick or something, I don't know. Or we didn't use our CC properly.
The following deaths throughout the dungeon was just little ones, but then Blizzard decided to ruin our day even more and spawned a bug squirrel.
Oh, hell no! Hell no!
The bosses were fine. We did get one death where the dragon took a fire beam to the face, but it didn't really affect us. We did the death skip, so if we focus up and pump, we can time this key. We got to the second phase with 30 seconds left. The key was now over. Let's just focus up and not die. It's just that simple, right?
Pretty sure we're gonna die during the next, Whoa. Oh, wrong button.
Oh my god. We could no longer do the skip, so my pain and suffering had to go on just a little bit longer, and after 42 minutes and 33 deaths of just pure pain, the key was finally over.
Shame.
But at least we got 149 gold to cover our repair bill.
Yeah, boy.
We ran back the 10 workshop with a different group. Surely things go better this time.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Death 1, Death 2, Death 3, Death 4, Death 5, Death 6, Death 16, Death 17, Death 18, Death 19, Death 22, Death 30, Death 23, Death 31, Death 24, Death 33, Death 25, Death 35, Death 26, Death 36, Death 29, Death 37, Death 41, Death 42.
I got he died on the easy stage.
Yeah, so that didn't go as planned. But hey, at least we got some boots. In the next episode, we're getting all the keys to 10. If you like the content, subscribe. If you made it this far, we already know you like the content, so subscribe anyway. Like, comment, all of that good stuff. Thanks for watching. Bye bye. Welcome, we're back with another episode of Zero to Hero. Tank Edition. After ending on a couple of rough keys in the last episode, I was hoping to start the day off strong, so we ran back a 10 workshop one more time. I took the pulls a little slower this time, yet people still seem to miss the kicks.
Literally sat there with kick.
Thankfully, it didn't lead to an instant wipe, but of course, someone had to go and ruin our clean sheet.
Oh, he just got chopped up.
Beating the first area within 5 minutes, I was feeling confident, and the damage was looking good, but I still pulled small in the hopes no one would die. But sadly, that wasn't the case. I'm struggling in this dog area. You guys have left comments telling me to pull a little bit smaller, but 4 to 5 dogs is surely manageable, especially for a disc priest. On the topic of disc priests, I know you guys wanted me to play a healer next, but so far on this channel, we've only played healers and tanks. So, I'm gonna be honest, I've not touched a DPS role since season 1 of Dragonflight. I've talked a lot of shit about DPS being easy, so we're gonna put that to the test. I will reveal which DPS I've selected at the end of the episode, so strap in because you're in for a long ride. Our pacing was nice this dungeon. until we got to this robot. Once it took out our healer, it was just 2 minutes of people slowly getting shot down until they eventually died. It sucks, but at least we finally figured out how to do this maze. When I pulled in this second robot, I really thought that was it, and we was going to go on a massive wiping spree. But surprisingly, there was no issues. Sadly though, I can't say the same for the next mobs. We did have a warlock to do the portal skip, so that saved us a lot of time, and going into the second phase with 3 minutes on the clock, I just knew we had it in the bag. And I was right, our team played flawlessly, so we timed our first 10 with 44 seconds to spare. Now, I know what you're thinking, Obey, it's not really that insane, but come on, check the date. This was 4 days into the new season. Pretty much everyone I played with was around 645 eye level, and still didn't have a 4 set, so timing these keys in a pug were pretty rough. Also, another thing with the game at the start of the season, some of the bosses were bugged to hell. Just like Baron on Priory, all of his abilities were just out of sync, so it made the fight almost impossible to do. Hell, at one point, hammers were swirling around the room, and then he casted his shield straight into a burning light, which was next to impossible to interrupt for melee characters. Because I leapt ahead of him, I couldn't interrupt the cast, so he healed when he literally had 1% health left. And to rub it in even more, I had 10 seconds left to soak the orbs, otherwise it was GG. But with so much going on, I didn't have the time or the HP to handle it. Our next key also failed. We wiped pretty early on. I did blunder pulling the Stormrook with the Thunderers, and if you look at our comp, you'd notice not many of them have kicks, and if they do, it's on a long ass cooldown. So once we exhausted all our kicks, it was basically GG for us. This technically was the reason why we failed the key, but with only 3 extra deaths by the end of the dungeon, even with this wipe, you still should be able to time the key. So let's just pass the blame on to the DPS.
Now that's a lot of damage!
We're WoW players, we never take responsibility for our own mistakes. We've not done a big pull yet, so check out this fancy first pull on MOTHERLODE. Again, I took it slow, only pulling a few mobs in at a time, and trying to focus on pulling hard packs when people had cooldowns. There's some scary mobs early on in MOTHERLODE, and sometimes it can get chaotic, just like when I pulled this Peacekeeper with 2 assassins and a thug. I never do this route now and just completely skip the whole first area. The percent you get from these mobs are not worth the time and the hassle. Plus, once you defeated this pack, there's another deadly pack just before the first boss. The first boss, however, is pretty easy. Just kick the bombs at his head and don't let him gobble up the coins. Our group were pumpers, so I felt okay chaining this pack together. Normally 2 extractors can be pretty deadly, but as long as you focus down one, stack on each other and rotate the correct way, they can easily be dealt with. The next few bosses and packs were honestly a breeze. We hardly died and everyone was doing insane damage. So we killed the last boss with 5 minutes to spare. This was our second portal this season. Now we are just 150 IO score away from Keystone Hero. I hoped our luck would continue going into this 11 Dark Flame Cleft, but sadly that just wasn't the case. With 15 minutes left going into the Candle King, it wasn't looking great. Surprisingly though, we was doing well, but just keeping that extra 1 wax figure alive caused us to take way too much damage. Our healer was getting a little bit overwhelmed, and with no more big buttons left, the damage going out was just way too much for our group to handle. This fight can be a battle of time. If you don't kill the boss fast enough, you will eventually run out of resources and die. I was pretty tilted after this, but we still ran it back as a 10 with the same group. There was a couple of deaths on the first pack, and just for the hell of it, I decided to pull in a molehead with the boss, which you can imagine didn't end so well. My team wasn't too pleased about this, but we still carried on. The rest of the dungeon was fine, and the only other deaths we got was when these creepers turned into a boss straight out of Dark Souls.
This dude is heavy, what the fuck?
Your survival wasn't necessary.
We ended up timing this 10, which secured as our third portal. We also got some legs, but it wasn't an upgrade.
I don't even need this.
We failed yet another key, this time it being a 10 Cinderbrew. Honestly, I'm not surprised. I feel like this is a really hard dungeon this season. For some reason, I did get flamed at the end of the dungeon for moving the boss too much, which is just insane because the only time I moved the boss was either when I got knocked back or just a reposition for the big barrels. I don't know what this guy wanted from me. I guess people just expect you to die to the mechanics. He apologized at the end, but if you're gonna flame, at least understand the boss first. In our next key, we got to the final boss with 5 minutes left. Then the worst possible thing happened. Our healer died. I think we split our focus on these two mobs instead of just blasting down the Ascendant, which in my opinion is the priority mob. This is because it leaves a nasty dot on the entire group, and when this overlaps with the Unleashed Darkness, the damage that goes out is just insane. We had 3 minutes left to kill this boss. At this key level, it's still possible without any mistakes, but of course our Warlock just had to go and ruin it. This death kinda ruined our chances of timing the key. But we just kept going, and a little bit later, our Warlock died again. So this messed up one of the mechanics and spawned an ad that wiped the entire group.
They all died. Oh, God.
We closed out the key, but we got 0 rating, and I was tilted. I knew this key was over very early on, mostly because this Demon Hunter's attitude stunk. I get why he's angry though. The group leader just invited a bunch of people and probably wanted a little bit of a boost. To be honest, we wasn't on track to time the key anyway. But once our druid died one more time, our Demon Hunter lost it, and on the next wipe, he rage quit. Even with the lack of damage, we still could have closed out this key. So it just sucks we wasted 25 minutes of our time just for the Hunter to leave. We all get annoyed sometimes, just like me in this 10 Floodgate. My pool kept getting taken on the last boss, and it was pissing me off.
Everyone's just taking my fucking pools, man.
I already know one of you are scrolling down to the comments to type, well, just ping what pool you're going to. I hate to burst your bubble, but I did. Don't worry though, my strategy now is just to leap across the room and pray someone doesn't rob me. Even though I died a bunch of times on the final boss, we still probably wouldn't have timed this key, because the boss just before this kicked our ass. And I'm not talking about the swamp boss, I'm talking about Bubbles. A new day and a new group to do the 10 Theatre of Pain with. This key failed basically right away. What I hate most about pugging is almost every group wants something different. Like when I pulled these souls with the Guardian. In every other pug it's been completely fine. But in this group, it was just way too much for them to handle. I think this is one of the many things you have to deal with as a tank, but adapting on the fly to your group is a skill in itself, and I've learned that now that I'm pushing way higher keys.
It's so weird, like you get into different groups and they all moan about different stuff. Like I do the same pulls in every dungeon, and for some reason it's too much for one group, but just fine for the other. I think the only reason why we failed that, really, is because I didn't have Sigil of Silence. I don't know why I didn't have Sigil of Silence. Did I accidentally press it during the boss or something? To get the affix? I think I did. I must have, because there's no other way why I wouldn't have it. There's literally no other reason.
But not all pugs are the same. Sometimes when you make a mistake, people will point out what you did wrong without being an ass about it. Just like when I got into this battle with another Dark Souls boss.
Oh wow.
I didn't know that the creepers were getting buffed by the dead mobs around it, but now that he's pointed it out, I know I won't be making this mistake in the future. We ended up timing that 11 Dark Flame Cleft. Nice. We already had the portal for this key, but this was probably, just like many others, our first 11 that we timed this season, and this felt like a massive confidence boost. We are just 92 more IO rating from achieving our goal of Keystone Hero. We could just time a Theatre of Pain and be done, but I wanted to time each dungeon on a 10, so that's what we did. Losing our mage back to back on the first pull, I wasn't hopeful, and when I lost my mage and healer straight away on the first boss, well, that was just a nail in the coffin. I could have just turned around and do a backflip straight out the dungeon, but I didn't. I carried on, but then I lost my DPS and healer. After this, I did what any well-adjusted tank player would do. I ran it back just to fail again. Then I got the fuck out of there before I got infected with whatever the hell they had.
I'm not doing this. I'm not wasting my time with these guys.
I felt confident with this group. When they were setting their abilities up for the intermission, I just knew they had a good idea of what to do in this dungeon. There's some scary pulls in this dungeon. This one can be brutal for tanks to gather, so you need to be careful. But once you settle in, you can easily blast it down. Just be aware of where you're standing and try and not get knocked back into the boss or the pack by the stairs. I've had issues with this boss in the past, but I'm more aware now. Baiting the swirls at the edge of the room and then immediately bringing Baiting the swirls to the edge of the room and then immediately bringing the boss back into the middle makes it easier for the group. Also, making sure I have a sigil up to grab the threat on the adds. There's usually a bit of an overlap with the swirl, so quickly grabbing the threat and moving to the edge of the room is key. The rest of the fight is just up to your group. As long as they destroy the barrels with the bees, you should have no problems. This pack is also a deadly pack. There's a lot of kicks and a lot of dodging, and if you're not on top of it all with your CC and kicks, you can get overwhelmed pretty fast. This group was good, so we blast down this pack before things got too out of hand. I did a really risky play moving the boss next to the ad as they were about to spawn, but thankfully the ads got slowed so much that they could barely move. The last boss was also smooth, so we timed the key with just 2 minutes left, securing us our 4th portal. For some reason, I just wasn't getting invited to 10s, so we ran a 930 of pain just for IO rating. We ended up failing it, but we did get a little bit more score. A few early deaths in the rookery and our only battle res dying halfway through the first boss kinda cost us. Blizzard also threw us a curveball and hit us with a visual bug on the second boss, which wiped our entire group. Holy shit. We killed the boss on the next try, but with 10 minutes left going into the final area, there just wasn't enough time, so we failed. We ran back the same dungeon, but this time it was on an 11. I know you love a starter pull, so let's run it back one more time. I've learned from previous dungeons not to go insane with the pulls. Slow and steady wins the race every single time. Pulling these Thunderers on their own allowed us to safely rotate our CC abilities together. Getting deaths in this area can take a good chunk of time, so minimizing that is key. The first boss in this dungeon is brain dead easy, so your group should have 0 deaths if played right. The packs leading up to the second boss can be scary, in particular these 2 double diffusers. In super high keys like 13s and 14s, you'll want to pull this entire room with Bloodless, but instead we played it safe and just pulled the room in 2 instead of 1 big pull. Like I said, the key to timing these dungeons are just minimizing deaths. Damage also helps, but if you interrupt and position correctly, nearly everyone can time 10s. Hell, maybe even 12s. Our second death was on me. With all the stuff going on my screen, I legit couldn't find another player to pass the debuff to. So I ended up passing it back to my DK, which led to him dying. We got him back up though and did a better job at passing around the debuff. Coming up to the last pack with just 8 minutes left, I was getting a little bit nervous. The final boss can take a while to kill, but if we just played it right, we could do it. I have PTSD from this pack, mostly because people split focus on their target, but I just turned my attention to the Ascendant and it seems like most of the group did too, so we took it down before it got too spicy. The last boss again is such an easy boss. As long as you destroy the crystals and pop a defensive on the tank busters, there's 0 chance you can die. We knocked the boss down with just a minute left. If we didn't kill it here, the key was over. Holy shit, that was close. We only ended up getting 4 IO rating from that dungeon, but it was a visual bug. When we logged into our vault the next day, our IO rating got updated. A bit of an anticlimactic ending. We ended up getting Keystone Hero in the first week of the season, at 650 eye level. I've been grinding the game ever since, and I've currently pugged all the way to 3100 IO rating completely solo. So if you want me to continue with the VDH series, but go more in depth about the routes and the spec, I can do that. Let me know in the comments. As for what's next,
here's the grand reveal of what DPS I'm going to be playing. Just like every meter DPS, all we care about is the Zug Zug. So it's only right that we play Fury Warrior. This video is dragging on a little bit too much, so we're just going to speedrun the 10s. If you like the content, subscribe. If you made it this far, we already know you like the content, so subscribe anyway. Like, comment, all of that good stuff. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.